You were not created to play small. You were commissioned to take ground. But until you master the one mental trick that frees you from hesitation, you will die with your power locked inside. Listen to this with the urgency of a man escaping his own chains. This message is not inspiration, it is release. Risk is not danger, it is destiny. The great tragedy of man is not that he is conquered by overwhelming enemies, but that he surrenders to small voices dressed in robes of wisdom. Fear, the oldest enemy of progress, no longer storms the gates of the heart with shouts and threats. It has grown clever. It disguises itself in the garments of counsel. It speaks not in violent cries, but in soft suggestions. Be careful, it says. Be reasonable, it murmurs. Think it over, it advises. And thus many a man, called to shape mountains and mold destiny, falls not to open warfare, but to the soft, poisonous drip of what he believes is wisdom. Most men do not lose because of what fear announces. They lose because of what fear whispers beneath the mask of prudence. They abandon boldness for safety, conviction for caution, destiny for delay. They confuse the call of caution with the voice of their higher faculties. They believe they are being wise, when in truth they are being weakened. Look to the lives of the great builders, and you will find no evidence that they bowed to such counsel. Andrew Carnegie risked not only fortune, but reputation when he dared to build his steel empire. In an age when conventional minds swore that wood and iron were sufficient, when even the engineers of his time called him foolish, he moved. He moved not because the path was assured, but because the vision was clear. Carnegie did not wait for the world to understand him. He demanded that the world adjust itself to the certainty of his movement. And what of Henry Ford, that titan of industry who defied every custom of his time? When all the world bowed to the tyranny of the horse and carriage, Ford risked his fortune, his reputation, even the very roof over his head, to birth the moving assembly line and the dream of affordable automobiles. He did not pause at the counsel of the careful. He did not deliberate to death. He decided. He dared. He did. And in doing so, he dragged the world forward with him. True wisdom, my friend, is never found in the counsel that begs you to delay your dream. True wisdom is action aligned with vision, not action shackled by fear. Wisdom that leads only to comfort is not wisdom but cowardice baptized in soft words. The man who moves in obedience to his vision despite the warnings of fear, despite the advice of small minds, despite the tremors of his own heart, that man becomes the master of himself and of his circumstances. Action rooted in vision purifies. Action ignited by purpose expands. You must learn to trust the burning image of destiny you see within your own mind more than the dusty words of those who fear to rise themselves. You must learn to trust vision over voices. Every time you feel the slow, familiar pull of so-called wisdom telling you to wait, to think again, to prepare more carefully, you must confront it with the sword of decision. You must ask yourself, does this voice speak to preserve my destiny or to preserve my comfort? And if the answer is comfort, you must cut it off without ceremony. Vision does not wait. Vision does not ask permission. Vision does not bow. It demands movement. It demands allegiance. It demands the obedience of a man willing to walk where fear warns others to wait. Let it be understood clearly. Every man who has ever built anything worth remembering moved while others waited. Every empire was founded amidst cries of, "Be reasonable." Every innovation was birthed against the backdrop of careful men saying, "Slow down." Every spiritual awakening surged forward while the priests of the day preached caution. You must not seek applause for your boldness. You must not even seek agreement. You must simply move. Speak aloud this truth until your bones remember it. I trust vision over voices. I walk where fear warns others to wait. There will be moments when the chain of caution feels heavier than the chain of failure. You will be tempted to think that the wise man always hesitates, always gathers more opinions, always waits for unanimous approval. But you must remember that the only men who ever received unanimous approval were those who had already been buried. The living man, the man on fire with destiny, is always doubted by the multitudes. He is always warned, he is always cautioned, and he is almost always condemned until he succeeds, and then they call him wise. When the world says, be careful, you must say, I am careful to obey my vision. When the world says, be reasonable, you must reply, there is no reason higher than my purpose. When they say, think it over, you must say, I thought it over before I dared to believe. Your decision must be so anchored, so rooted in the soil of certainty, that no storm of public opinion can pull it up by the roots. You are not here to collect safe advice. You are here to collect victories. Carnegie's fortune did not come because he feared ridicule. It came because he welcomed it. Ford's revolution in transportation did not spring forth because he calculated the odds. It sprang forth because he rejected the odds. You must understand the pattern laid before you. Vision demands risk. Risk demands faith. Faith demands movement. And movement commands reward. Do not despise the small, cowardly voices that attempt to slow you. Pity them, for they have traded the glory of destiny for the cheap comfort of delay. But you, who are being fashioned by fire, must march forward. When your soul cries out with vision, you must answer with action. When fear whispers, you must shout back with deeds. When wisdom masked in fear beckons you to retreat, you must lean into the wind and declare with your steps that you will not bow. Today, right now, you must choose. Will you listen to the careful counsel of fear, or will you obey the daring call of vision? Your future bends to the voice you heed. Let the voice be your own, the voice of faith, the voice of action, the voice of destiny declared in motion. Declare it now and daily. I trust vision over voices. I walk where fear warns others to wait. These are not empty words. They are the hammer and chisel with which you carve your future from the stone of opportunity. Speak them when you rise. Speak them when you doubt. Speak them when others warn you to turn back. For in the end, history remembers not the careful, but the courageous. The greatest lie that has ever been whispered into the ear of man is that he must be approved before he can build, that he must be chosen by others before he can choose himself, that he must first collect stamps of permission before he may set his hand to his own destiny. But I tell you now, if you are alive, you are already qualified. Your very breath is the evidence of your appointment. You do not breathe because the world authorized you to do so. You breathe because the infinite intelligence that governs all life placed purpose within you and said, go. And yet how many men move through their days awaiting permission to begin, permission to dare, permission to advance? They wait for some outer voice to declare them ready, when all along the only voice that mattered has already spoken in the silent drumbeat of their existence. The simple fact that you draw a breath means that you are called. The moment you awoke to consciousness was the moment your permission slip was signed. You need not await the approval of any man or council, any institution or authority. You need only awaken to the truth that life itself has already granted you the right to build, to create, to advance. No additional authorization will be forthcoming. The universe has already answered your request with your very existence. To wait now for some external confirmation is to deny the sacred trust placed within you. Look to the example of Thomas Edison, whose life shines as a testament to this truth. Did Edison wait for permission to experiment? Did he petition the public for approval before daring to defy the darkness? No, he moved without apology. He moved without title, without widespread support, without even the assurance of success. He risked ridicule with every invention. The newspapers scoffed. His neighbors laughed. Learned men doubted. But Edison understood what too few grasp. His assignment was written not by the hand of society, but by the hand of purpose itself. Every breath he took was a reaffirmation that he was meant to build, to dare, to uncover the treasures hidden in persistence. He failed thousands of times, and yet never once did he conclude that his failures disqualified him. He pressed forward because his permission was not tied to public applause. It was tied to the beating heart within his own chest. You must stop waiting for proof that you are worthy. Proof is not a prerequisite. It is a byproduct of obedience to purpose. The man who waits for the world to declare him ready will die with his dreams still sealed in silence. The man who moves because he has breath will find that the very act of movement draws the necessary allies, resources, and opportunities into his path. Life responds to the man who acts, not to the man who waits. Understand this. Your assignment, That calling which stirs you when all else is quiet was written not on parchment or declared by human hands, but inscribed deep within your spirit by the same force that carved mountains and set stars ablaze. You need no further sign. Your breath is your commission. Your desire is your instruction. Your decision to move is your loyalty to the purpose that summoned you into being. Say to yourself each day, I am the type of person who does not wait for permission to act. Speak it aloud, not as a hope, but as a decree. Let your very tone be the sound of obedience to destiny. Say, I am the type of person who understands that breath is proof of purpose. Say, I am the type of person who moves without needing approval. Say, I am the type of person who turns desire into deeds without hesitation. Say, I am the type of person who trusts that my life is evidence enough that I am called to build. When doubt seeks to chain you to stillness, when the cautious voices around you cry, wait a little longer, gather more evidence, prove yourself first, you must reply with action. You must rise from your chair, take up your tools, and work as though all of heaven watches and applauds. Because it does. The invisible forces of life cheer for the man who dares to act from his own breath and not from the trembling permissions of others. There is a richness reserved for those who move before the world agrees. Every empire was first a silent decision made without applause. Every monument was first a sketch drawn without guarantee. Every name now etched in marble was once spoken only by one man who believed when no one else did. Do you think that Ford, when he built his first rattling automobiles, waited for the nod of polite society? Do you believe that Carnegie waited for the blessing of the learned professors before stacking the foundations of his steel empire? Number. They moved because breath was in them and vision was before them. They understood the sacred mathematics of destiny. Breath plus belief plus boldness equals the manifestation of greatness. This day, this hour, you must make the decision to divorce yourself from the need for permission. You must cast off the heavy garment of doubt that others have placed upon your shoulders. You must tear it away with the fierceness of a man reclaiming his rightful crown. From this moment forward, you are not seeking validation. You are walking in vocation. You are not requesting favor. You are moving as the favored. You are not asking whether you may build. You are building. Stand before the mirror each morning and remind yourself, my breath is my proof. My existence is my evidence. My desire is my declaration. I do not wait for confirmation from the world. I confirm myself with action. Let these words not merely fall from your lips, but burn into your soul. And remember this, the world does not remember the men who waited. It remembers the men who moved while the world was still sleeping. It honors the men who dared when the crowd still doubted. It celebrates the builders, not the beggars. You were not born to beg for opportunities. You were born to create them. Now move. Move with the energy of a man already appointed. Move with the certainty of a man already crowned. Move with the fire of a man who knows that no further permission will ever be given because none is needed. You are qualified. You are called. You are commanded by the breath you carry to build the destiny you see. Waste no more time at the gates of approval. Storm forward, armed with nothing but your own living spirit and the vision that will not let you sleep. For if you move now, the world will catch up. If you build now, the world will admire. If you dare now, the world will one day point to your name and say, there was a man who moved when others waited, who dared when others doubted, who built because he breathed, and because he breathed, he became unforgettable. No man stumbles into greatness as a drunkard stumbles into a ditch. No man drifts into dominion. The man who rises to command his world does not do so by accident. He storms the gates of his future with the boldness of one who knows he was sent. You must understand that risk is not rebellion against caution. It is obedience to the voice of destiny that whispers louder than fear. Every mighty man whose name you know, whose deeds you admire, understood this sacred truth. The doors that lead to greatness are guarded by risk. They do not open to the hesitant, the timid, or the overly reasonable. They swing only for the man who dares to risk his pride, his comfort, his fortune, and even his standing in the eyes of the world in obedience to a vision greater than himself. Consider the story of Edwin C. Barnes. When he first declared his intention to become the business partner of Thomas Edison, Barnes was neither wealthy nor well-connected. He had no golden key of reputation to unlock the doors he wished to enter, but what he had was worth more than any coin. He had a decision sealed by risk. Barnes risked everything he had to put himself in the orbit of Edison. He left behind the comfortable stagnation of his ordinary life and traveled with little more than his belief and his breath. He did not arrive at Edison's office wearing the robes of success, but he carried within him the certainty that he would one day stand beside the great inventor as an equal, not a servant. He risked the humiliation of being laughed at. He risked the weariness of menial work while his dream simmered unseen. He risked the quiet agony of being underestimated by those who could not yet see what he had already decided. Risk is not a luxury reserved for the adventurous few. It is a sacred requirement placed upon every man who would dare to build a life that echoes beyond his mortal years. Risk is not a gamble, for it is not undertaken with blind hope. It is obedience to a calling so loud, so persistent, that it leaves no alternative. You must cease thinking of risk as something optional, something to be weighed against convenience or comfort. Risk is the sacred door to your dominion, and it demands not a portion of you, but all of you. A man who dips his toe into the waters of his future will never know the exhilaration of conquest. Only the man who plunges in with both feet, burning the bridge behind him, will find the strength to swim against the current of the ordinary. Risk is a declaration of faith. When you risk, you are saying to life itself, I trust the vision placed within me more than I trust the safety of this present shore. Every step forward without certainty of applause is a holy act. Every investment of time, of energy, of treasure into a dream not yet seen by others is a sacrifice at the altar of purpose. And hear me well, the man who risks and fails is closer to greatness than the man who protects himself and wins the approval of the crowd. The former has entered the arena and bled for his dream. The latter remains in the stands, untouched, untested, unknown. Say to yourself each morning, I honor my assignment with audacity. Let those words settle not only into your ears, but into your bones. Say aloud with conviction, every risk I take is a sacrifice of faith. Speak it until your very cells believe it. Speak it until hesitation feels foreign to your spirit. The world belongs to those who are willing to place their future at risk for the sake of what they cannot yet see but know must be. It is not enough to want. It is not enough to plan. It is not enough to prepare. You must risk. You must move while the path is still dark, while the applause is still silent, while the outcome is still uncertain. You must cease treating risk as the enemy and recognize it as the appointed path. The man who shrinks from risk will find that life shrinks away from him. The man who embraces risk with honor and gratitude will find that life, though slow at first, begins to unfold before him in ways he could not have foreseen. Greatness does not bloom in fields of safety. It blooms in the soil watered by sacrifice, fertilized by courage, and warmed by the fire of relentless action. The decision you must make is simple in its essence, but difficult in its execution. Will you worship safety, or will you obey destiny? Every day you delay your bold steps in favor of calculated comfort. You delay the coronation waiting for you on the other side. The crown will not be placed upon the head of the man who planned to risk someday. It will adorn the head of the man who risked today. Do not confuse recklessness with sacred risk. Recklessness is movement without vision. Sacred risk is movement with vision so strong that even fear must bend before it. The man who risks foolishly loses both purpose and provision. But the man who risks in alignment with his definite chief aim gathers not only strength, but support from sources unseen. Barnes did not succeed immediately. He did not win Edison's partnership after a single bold move. He swept floors. He fetched errands. He bore the silent laughter of others who saw only his current station, not his inward crown. But because he risked his pride once to enter the opportunity, he had already decided that no temporary task would unseat him from his ultimate throne. Risk, followed by relentless action, is the hammer that shapes empires. You must decide now. Will you step out from the comfortable circle of spectators into the perilous but promising center of the arena? Will you risk your small comforts to gain your great calling? Will you risk your temporary reputation to gain your eternal renown? The answers must not be spoken with your lips alone. They must be shouted with your actions. You will know you have answered rightly when you feel the familiar shiver of uncertainty followed immediately by the forward march of your feet. From this moment forward, you must regard risk not as something to be avoided, but as the sacred proof that you are walking the path appointed to you. When you feel risk tighten your chest, do not retreat, advance. When you feel fear whisper its soft chains around your dreams, break them with the shout of your decision. Declare boldly to yourself and to life itself, I honor my assignment with audacity. Every risk I take is a sacrifice of faith. Risk is not the enemy of the faithful. It is their proving ground. It is the place where small men flee and great men forge their legacy. Understand this deeply. Comfort is a coffin lined with velvet. Risk is the road paved with fire. You will not find many walking it, but those who do leave footprints that never fade. Now move forward, not because you are guaranteed applause, but because you are guaranteed an opportunity to become the man you were always destined to be. Risk is not the enemy. Risk is the invitation. And your acceptance of that invitation will determine the story told of you when the books are closed and the dust of your days settles. The only true risk, my friend, is living a life so safe, so cautious, so timid, that you leave this world unchanged and unremembered. The man who dares to move boldly is always met first with the sneer of the small. The world does not immediately applaud the one who steps out of line. It jeers, it scoffs, it points fingers from the safe confines of the crowd. But history has proven again and again that the man who is first called reckless, foolish, arrogant, and delusional is often the same man whose statue is later erected in the town square. Every major figure who shaped the course of civilization, every king, every builder, every inventor, was first greeted not with cheers, but with chuckles. It is the natural law of progress. The bold are ridiculed before they are revered. You must not fear the laughter of the crowd. You must expect it. You must welcome it as confirmation that you have exited the suffocating tent of safety and stepped onto the battlefields where legacies are made. Consider the life of Theodore Roosevelt. A man of action, a man of thunderous decision, Roosevelt was in his early years dismissed as brash, as foolish, as a loud boy playing at seriousness. His critics whispered that he lacked the calm demeanor of a proper statesman, that his robust energy would undo him. But Roosevelt did not seek their permission. He charged forward, crafting his life with the audacity of a man who knew that the timid soul has no place in the chronicles of greatness. Today, his name is carved among the immortals, not because he bowed to the criticism of his time, but because he outran it. Those who mocked him first bowed before his memory later. So it shall be with you. You must train yourself to see criticism not as a cause for concern, but as a signpost that you are advancing beyond the reach of the average. When they call you reckless, hear instead the sound of chains breaking. When they call you foolish, hear the confirmation that you have dared to step onto paths they themselves feared to tread. Expect the criticism, prepare for it, rejoice in it. The louder their disapproval, the surer the proof that you are not building your life according to the cheap blueprints handed out by the world. You are drawing from a deeper, higher set of plans, the ones etched into the walls of your own spirit by the hand of your Creator. The man who bends at the sound of criticism will never rise. He will spend his days adjusting his crown to fit the opinions of others, and in doing so, he will never wear it properly. But the man who moves with certainty, who embraces criticism as a confirmation of his divergence from mediocrity, will find that in time, the very mouths that mocked will murmur admiration. Understand this deeply. The world criticizes early and obeys later. It is not your job to convince them. It is your job to continue moving until your reality becomes undeniable. You must say to yourself again and again, I am the type of person who thrives on being misunderstood by small minds. Say it with the same conviction that a king speaks to his court. Say, I am the type of person who expects doubt to rise when destiny draws near. Declare, I am the type of person who welcomes criticism as the sound of chains breaking behind me. Remind yourself, I am the type of person who sees laughter not as a weapon, but as a hymn of my ascent. Proclaim, I am the type of person who moves faster when the voices of the timid grow louder. Speak further into the marrow of your being. I am the type of person who understands that the beginning of greatness is the end of public approval. I am the type of person who draws strength from resistance. I am the type of person who is fueled, not frightened, by disbelief. I am the type of person who treats ridicule as proof of the right path. I am the type of person who would rather be mocked for rising than praised for standing still. Let these affirmations be your shield when the arrows of opinion rain down. Make no mistake. There is no path to boldness that does not pass through the valley of misunderstanding. You will be misread, misjudged, mislabeled. But it is not your burden to correct every voice that misunderstands you. It is your duty to continue building, to continue moving, to continue standing taller even when the ground shakes beneath you. Those who criticize you today do so because you remind them of what they could have become had they dared. They call you foolish because your movement indicts their stagnation. They laugh because your courage exposes their cowardice. Do not soften your stride to match their trembling steps. Do not dull your voice to blend into their chorus of caution. Do not slow your ascent to make your ambition more palatable to their shrinking hearts. Move boldly, speak boldly, build boldly. Your future depends not on their approval, but on your persistence. The harvest you seek will not be reaped by the hand that hesitates. It will be gathered by the hand that moves, that risks, that dares, while others debate. The bold man does not need to answer every critic. His work answers for him. His persistence answers. His results answer. And when the world, weary from its own drifting, finally lifts its gaze to look for examples of courage, they will find you already standing at the summit. They will not remember the names of those who laughed. They will remember the name of the man who endured the laughter and still climbed. Therefore, welcome the criticism. Expect the sneers. Anticipate the whispers. Let them energize your step, not slow it. Let them firm your voice, not soften it. Let them hammer your will into a sharper, stronger sword. Because the world may resist the bold at first, but it cannot resist them forever. The world bows in time to the man who refuses to kneel. There comes a point in every man's life where he must choose his true master, the voice of his calling or the chorus of public opinion. Most men, weak in spirit and drunk on the need for approval, choose the latter. They bow not to what is eternal, but to what is passing. They surrender their souls on the altar of reputation, offering their days and their strength to the ever-changing winds of human favor. But understand this: no man has ever risen to the heights of destiny while still kneeling before the idol of reputation. A man ruled by reputation is a man owned by every tongue that speaks his name. He is governed by fear, not by vision. He trims his dream to fit the small minds of his critics. He dulls his greatness so that it does not offend the common crowd. And in doing so, he dies a slow death, unnoticed by history, unclaimed by legacy. Look upon the example of Abraham Lincoln. His life was a furnace of public humiliation. Before it was a beacon of triumph. In the early days, Lincoln was mocked as awkward, ridiculed as a simpleton, dismissed as a country lawyer with delusions beyond his station. His speeches were attacked, his appearance derided, his every movement scrutinized and belittled by men who had never dared half as much. But Lincoln did not bow. He did not alter his mission to chase the applause of his contemporaries. He endured the mockery, he bore the shame, and he allowed the jeering voices to sharpen his resolve instead of shattering it. It was precisely because he was unmoved by reputation that destiny deemed him worthy to command the fate of a nation. Had he sought to win favor at every turn, he would have won nothing at all. You must understand this clearly. If reputation governs you, destiny cannot trust you. The future does not hand its treasures to the man who sways with every breeze of opinion. The future demands loyalty, steadfastness, a spirit that is welded to purpose and immune to the seductions of public favor. If you wish to be counted among the builders of legacy, you must slaughter the idol of reputation daily. You must train yourself to hear the applause and the criticism of men as echoes from a distant valley, meaningless, fleeting, incapable of touching the summit where you are bound. And how shall you train yourself in this defiance? through daily acts of rebellion against the tyranny of image. You must practice the art of being misunderstood without explanation. You must speak the truth even when it would be easier to soften your words. You must move forward when it would be more comfortable to stay and justify yourself. Every day you must commit at least one act that risks misunderstanding, one act that could invite judgment, one act that places obedience to your calling above the approval of men. It is only through this repeated practice that the chains of reputation will lose their grip. A man enslaved to reputation will always hesitate. He will always calculate how his actions will be perceived before he considers whether they are right. He will delay necessary decisions because he fears how they might be criticized. He will bend his convictions to fit the mold of the moment, and in doing so, he will betray the very spark within him that was meant to light a fire for generations to come. But the man who destroys the idol of reputation acts swiftly, speaks boldly, moves independently. He becomes dangerous to the forces of mediocrity because he cannot be bribed with flattery nor silenced with ridicule. You must tell yourself every day, I am not here to be understood. I am here to obey my assignment. I am not here to win approval. I am here to win the battle appointed to me by my own vision. My value does not rise and fall with the opinion of men. It is fixed, eternal, set by the very breath that brought me into being. I do not polish my soul for the applause of strangers. I do not edit my destiny to suit the preferences of the masses. I walk where the fire within me commands, even if I must walk alone. Remember this. When Lincoln stood before the divided nation, it was not the smiling approval of his peers that steeled his spirit. It was the conviction that he was right, even if the whole world said he was wrong. You must carry that same conviction into every room you enter, into every decision you make, into every step you take. You are not building a life to be liked. You are building a life to be legendary. And legends are often hated before they are honored. Do not shrink your stride to match the comfort of the crowd. Do not apologize for your assignment because it offends the timid. Do not ask the world for permission to rise. Declare it, live it, move as if history is watching, not the critics, not the doubters, but the invisible hand of destiny that waits to see if you are worthy of being written into its scrolls. There will be moments when the weight of disapproval feels unbearable, when the silence of lost friendships and the noise of public misunderstanding tempts you to abandon your course. Stand firm, stand tall. Know that you are closer than ever to the crown that does not fade, the victory that does not require validation. The moment you decide that reputation is a lesser god and destiny the only true one, you become unshakable. You become immovable. You become inevitable. Every day, you must perform acts that offend the idol of reputation and honor the flame of your vision. Speak the truth when it is costly. Move forward when it invites judgment. Take the risk that others shrink from. Smile when misunderstood. Build when mocked. Persist when forgotten. These are the stones with which destiny builds its monuments. And so today, declare it aloud. I do not worship reputation. I do not ask for permission. I do not measure my worth by applause. I do not bend to win favor. I move by vision, not by votes. I walk by faith, not by fame. I am governed by purpose, not by popularity. I destroy the idol of reputation daily, and in its place, I build an altar to destiny. The world has no power over a man who refuses to kneel. Neither insult nor praise can steer him from his course. He becomes like a river carved by ancient design, cutting through rock and mountain alike, moving with an unstoppable force toward the sea of his destiny. Be that man, break free, rise. The man who waits for perfect conditions will find himself waiting for eternity. He will sit with his dreams folded in the dusty corner of his soul, rehearsing endlessly the reasons why today is not the day. He will call his hesitation wisdom, his fear strategy, his delay patience. But understand this. Waiting for the perfect time is not prudence. It is spiritual cowardice dressed in noble language. No great man, no builder of empires, no creator of legacies ever began when conditions were perfect. They began in the middle of uncertainty. They began with trembling hands and unfinished plans. They began because they knew that waiting rots and motion refines. Look closely at the builders you admire. They did not wait until all the lights were green before leaving their driveway. They did not sit idle until every obstacle had been removed. They began with a vision in their minds and determination in their hearts. They understood that the perfect moment is not found, it is forged. Henry Ford did not wait until his designs were flawless before building the first motor car. His early creations clanked, sputtered, broke down, and mocked the very idea he believed in. But he built, he moved, he adjusted. And because he acted, the road was paved for generations to follow. Had Ford delayed until every piece was polished, there would be no Ford to remember. You must launch with version 1 and refine with version 2. Begin with what you have, where you are, with the little understanding you can muster today. Movement is the great purifier of vision. Each step forward sharpens what hesitation only blurs. Action is the hammer that shapes the iron of your ambition into the sword of your achievement. No matter how crude, how incomplete, how uncertain your first efforts may be, they are infinitely greater than the flawless plans that never breathe life. Action births clarity. Action births momentum. Action, not perfection, is the path to mastery. You must discipline yourself to choose the living imperfection over the perfect fantasy. Each morning, ask yourself, what can I build today, even poorly, rather than dream tomorrow with more polish? Refuse the temptation to think yourself into stillness. Build yourself into movement. Write the imperfect sentence. Forge the messy prototype. Speak the stumbling words. Launch the crude plan. And in that movement, you will find that the seeds of greatness were never planted in certainty, but in the rich soil of audacious beginnings. There is a rhythm to achievement, and it beats to the sound of decisive footsteps. No hesitation, no second guessing, no waiting for all the stars to align. Imagine a craftsman shaping a statue. He does not stare at the block of marble waiting for a perfect stroke. He strikes and strikes again, each blow revealing more of the hidden masterpiece. You too must strike. Strike at your dream with the tools you have, with the knowledge you possess, with the faith you carry. You are not sculpting perfection. You are uncovering destiny. And destiny favors the man who moves before the applause, before the certainty, before the approval of the world. There will be stumbles. There will be missteps. There will be moments when the ground feels unsteady and the results meager. But these are not failures. They are confirmations that you are alive, that you are moving, that you are becoming. A man who never trips is a man who never walks. A man who never falters is a man who never dared the climb. Wear your imperfections like armor, not shame. They are not the signs of your weakness. They are the scars of your rising. Say aloud today and every day, I choose movement over perfection. I choose action over applause. I choose to build with broken bricks rather than dream of marble palaces that never rise. I take imperfect steps, but I take them. And each step refines me into the man I was born to be. Delay has no place in my mind. Hesitation has no seat at my table. I am a builder, not a beggar. I am a mover, not a waiter. I do not wait for permission to act. I declare by action that I have already begun. You will find that the world does not open its gates to the man who plans forever. It opens to the man who pounds upon them with relentless steps, imperfect though they may be. It honors the man who forges his life not in fantasy, but in the imperfect, glorious, battle-scarred pursuit of his vision. And so must you. A man's destiny is not built in silence. It is shaped, carved, and summoned by the boldness of his speech. Understand this. The world you inhabit bends not to the man who whispers his hopes, but to the one who declares his intentions with the full force of his spirit. Before the evidence appears, before the crowd believes, before even the smallest echo of success is visible, the man of destiny must dare to speak. To declare is to seed the unseen. To speak aloud your vision is not mere boasting. It is construction in motion. It is faith given form. It is the hammer striking the invisible stone from which reality will be cut. Too many men sit in quiet rooms waiting for permission to believe in their own future. They tell themselves they will speak boldly once they have proof, once the world applauds, once the first signs of victory arrive. But they have reversed the order of creation. It is not proof that produces proclamation. It is proclamation that produces proof. The subconscious mind does not respond to evidence. It responds to repetition. It does not ask, has he achieved it? It asks, what is the song he sings daily? And in time, it arranges reality to match the melody most often repeated. Consider the story of Andrew Carnegie. Before steel bent the world to his command, before his name became synonymous with industry and might, he spoke of his empire as though it were already forged. In the humble offices where plans were mere sketches and fortunes were distant dreams, Carnegie spoke with the conviction of a man already crowned. He did not whisper possibilities. He declared certainties. His boasts to the untrained ear sounded like foolishness, but to the mind of Carnegie, they were not boasts. They were blueprints. Every word spoken aloud was a stone laid on the path to dominance. You must follow the same law. You must become a master of morning and evening declarations. As the sun rises, before the doubts of the day have time to gather, you must stand, look yourself in the eye, and speak aloud the man you are becoming. You must not ask politely. You must declare firmly, I am the builder of empires. I am the architect of destiny. I am the steward of wealth, influence, and power aligned to noble service. Your voice must not shake. Your gaze must not wander. Speak it with the force that would bend mountains if mountains could hear. And again at night, before sleep takes you into the realm of dreams, you must declare once more. Speak to your subconscious as a general would to his army, with clarity, with conviction, with command. Tell it what you are building. Tell it where you are going. Tell it who you already are, not who you are trying to become. For when the mind hears the same voice, the same tone, the same certainty day after day, it begins to arrange all inner forces in service to that command. Opportunities are seen where once only obstacles stood. Strength arises where once only hesitation dwelt. The spirit is fortified for the battle because it believes it has already won. You must declare it until you dominate it. Not once, not for a week, but daily, until the vibration of your voice rewrites the fibers of your being. There will be days when you feel like a liar, days when the outside world mocks the boldness of your inner decree, days when the gap between what you say and what you see yawns wide before you like a canyon. Those are the sacred days. Those are the proving grounds. On such days, your declarations matter more than on any day of ease, for faith is not proven when the road is clear. It is proven when the mist is thick and the path unseen. Speak louder in the mist. Declare firmer in the silence. Proclaim with greater ferocity when all seems uncertain. For the subconscious, like a loyal servant, does not need to understand the weather. It only needs to hear the order. And it will obey if you are consistent enough, persistent enough, faithful enough to give the same command without flinching. Do not look to the world for signs before you speak. The world is slow. The spirit is swift. What you declare today will shape the landscape of tomorrow. Your words are not wasted breath. They are the architects of unseen bridges, the blueprints of futures yet to unfold. Every great builder spoke their vision long before the bricks rose from the earth. Every conqueror marched to music only he could hear. Every name now written in the books of history once trembled the air with bold declarations before a single battle was won. You must therefore become a man of voice, a man who speaks not because he seeks applause, but because he enforces his own certainty. Speak when you rise. Speak when you fall. Speak when you are surrounded by doubters. Speak when you are alone in the dark. Speak until your voice no longer sounds foreign to your spirit. Speak until your declaration is the only language you know. Say it aloud even now. I declare it until I dominate it. My words are the sword that carves my path. My voice is the chisel that sculpts my destiny. I do not wait for victory to be handed to me. I declare it, and by declaration I claim it. Every time I speak, I write another chapter of my becoming. Every word is a stone set firmly in the foundation of my throne. I am no longer silent. I am no longer hesitant. I am no longer waiting. I speak. I move. I conquer. Understand this as a law greater than stone, greater than wind, greater even than time. A man's life bends inevitably toward the words he speaks most often. If he speaks defeat, defeat greets him. If he speaks hesitation, hesitation binds him. But if he speaks victory, if he speaks dominion, if he speaks with the audacity of the crowned before the crown is visible, then life itself becomes his field of conquest. So speak and do not cease. Speak until the mountains move. Speak until the rivers shift. Speak until the world has no choice but to recognize the ruler who first ruled his own tongue. Strengthen a single man whose mind is fixed, whose heart burns with purpose, whose feet march with determination. But there is a might beyond strength, a power that multiplies, and it is found when two or more such men unite under a common vision. Alone you may carry a torch. Together you become a fire that no wind can extinguish. You must understand this if you are to build anything that endures beyond your own breath. Alliances make boldness unstoppable. It is not weakness to seek alliance. It is wisdom. It is strategy. It is obedience to a law older than empires and stronger than stone. The principle I speak of is one I have named the mastermind. It is the invisible blending of two or more minds committed in harmony to a definite chief aim. This alliance is no casual friendship, no idle companionship of convenience. It is a deliberate binding of spirits, a sacred covenant of vision. When a true mastermind is formed, the limits of each man fall away, and a new mind, a third, greater mind, emerges, capable of feats no single man could ever achieve alone. Risk, when carried by one, can feel heavy, even unbearable. But risk, when carried by many moving in concert, becomes momentum, a surging river that clears the boulders of doubt and fear with ease. Think of Andrew Carnegie. His steel empire was not built by his hands alone, nor even by the strength of his name alone. It was built through alliances with men like Charles Schwab, men who did not merely follow orders, but who carried the flame of shared ambition. Schwab was no sycophant. He was a builder in his own right. Carnegie chose him not for blind loyalty, but for shared audacity. They forged a partnership where boldness was not the exception. It was the expectation. Ideas were exchanged not timidly, but fiercely. Plans were not whispered, they were declared. Risk was not feared, it was seized. Together they turned molten dreams into steel reality, and the world had no choice but to bend to the structures they raised. You must build such circles in your own life. You must surround yourself not with men who ask you to be careful, but with men who demand that you be courageous. Not with men who urge caution at every turn, but with men who remind you daily that greatness does not arise from safety, but from the battlefield of bold decision. If you walk alone, you can move quickly for a time. But if you build alliances, you can move mightily, and you can endure storms that would crush the solitary. It is not enough to hope such men will appear. You must seek them. You must test them. You must reveal your own boldness so that it calls forth the boldness in others. And when you find them, those rare souls who are unafraid to dream outrageously and act swiftly, you must bind yourself to them in mutual commitment. Set meetings not merely to converse, but to sharpen each other. Hold each other accountable not merely for promises made, but for actions taken. Build rituals of daring. Make bold movement your shared language. Each week you must set aside time for what I call the Council of Risk. In this council, each man must declare what bold act he has taken since the last meeting. There must be no space for excuses, no refuge for delay. You must celebrate movement, reward initiative, and call out hesitation with loving severity. For the mind, like a blade, sharpens best when it is struck against another blade of equal hardness. And understand this: the world outside your alliance will not comprehend your fire. They will say you are reckless. They will say you are foolish. They will say you should slow down, wait, be reasonable. Let them speak. Let them retreat to the quiet shadows of smallness. You are not building for their applause. You are building for your destiny. And you will find that over time, the very critics who once laughed at your alliances will stand in awe of the structures you have raised together. Affirm this truth within yourself daily. Say aloud and say with fire, I am the type of person who builds circles where boldness is normal. I am the type of person who sharpens others and demands to be sharpened in return. I am the type of person who multiplies courage through association. I am the type of person who chooses my allies with the seriousness of a king choosing his generals. I am the type of person who creates environments where risk is the ritual and victory the result. Let these affirmations not merely pass through your lips, but be stamped onto your soul. Walk into your alliances with full presence. Speak boldly, act swiftly. Uplift your companions to greater daring, even as you let them uplift you. Make your gatherings dangerous to small thinking and deadly to delay. Let the vibration of your combined certainty shake loose every hidden doubt, every concealed hesitation, until nothing remains but the pure, unbreakable structure of shared destiny. Remember, the mountains you are called to move were never meant to be moved by your hands alone. The rivers you are destined to redirect, the cities you are fated to build, the empires you are anointed to establish. They were all placed within reach, but they require not only your will, but the compounded will of your chosen few. Alone, you may stir the waters. Together you create the flood. Therefore, seek alliance as a sacred duty. Maintain it as a sacred trust. Guard it as you would guard your most prized treasure. For the man who walks boldly alone may shake the dust for a season, but the man who binds his life to other bold men shakes the earth itself for generations to come. Speak it now, for what you speak you will soon embody. I am the architect of bold alliances. I move with men of fire. I forge brotherhoods of daring. I build councils of action. And together we are invincible. A trick known to the few who shape the fate of the world and unknown to the many who are shaped by it. It is a secret so simple that it is often missed, so powerful that once it is seized, it separates the builders from the beggars, the rulers from the ruled. It is this: you must act as if it is already done. Not someday, not soon. Now, in every breath, in every movement, in every decision, you must carry yourself as if the victory you seek has already been awarded to you, and the world is simply waiting to catch up. Imagine it now. Imagine that you have already succeeded. What would you say? Would your voice tremble? Would you hesitate before speaking? Would you seek approval in every glance? You would speak with clarity. You would build with decisiveness. You would declare without apology. The words you would use would not be laced with uncertainty. They would ring with finality. The steps you would take would not be cautious. They would be purposeful. Your handshake would be firm. Your stride would be commanding. Your presence would announce itself before your mouth even opened. You see, the man who succeeds is not the man who waits for proof. He is the man who provides it through action. He does not beg destiny to notice him. He commands destiny by becoming the embodiment of his vision before the world gives him permission to do so. This is the reversal of delay. Delay says, wait until you are ready. Boldness says, I am ready because I decided to be. Delay says, prove it first. Boldness says, proof follows performance. Barnes understood this great law when he presented himself at the doorstep of Thomas Edison. He was not wealthy. He was not experienced. He was not introduced by important men or accompanied by glittering achievements. He had nothing the world would have counted as worthy. But Barnes had something greater. He had decided to act as though he was already Edison's partner long before any agreement was signed. His mind had signed the contract before his hand did. He spoke not as a man seeking favor, but as a man offering partnership. He moved not as a servant, but as an equal in vision. And in time, the world, the visible, slow-moving world, aligned with what Barnes had already sealed in spirit. You must do the same. Begin each day with a mental rehearsal. See yourself not as a man on the way, but as a man who has already arrived. Speak aloud the words that a victorious man would speak. Move your hands with the precision of a man whose work is building a throne, not digging a ditch. Tilt your chin with the composure of a man who knows his name will be etched into the stones of history. The subconscious mind does not care whether the image you provide is drawn from present conditions or future realities. It obeys the repeated image with mechanical faithfulness. It builds what you show it again and again. Practice physical imitation. Sit as he would sit. Walk as he would walk. Greet others not with the uncertainty of a man asking for approval, but with the gravity of a man offering destiny. Your shoulders must speak before your mouth does. Your posture must declare, I belong, even when the room has not yet acknowledged you. You are not waiting for the world to agree. You are training the world how to see you. Practice verbal command. Do not say, I hope to one day become. Say, I am the man who builds. Do not whisper, I am trying. Announce, I am creating. Let no room for doubt slip between your tongue and your truth. Speak aloud each morning and each night, not as a beggar petitioning fate, but as a ruler issuing commands. And when you are tempted to slip back into old language, into soft words and weaker tones, correct yourself swiftly. A king does not stutter when issuing a decree. He speaks, and it is done. Affirm aloud every day with fire and with faith. I am the type of person who moves as though the world has already bowed to my vision. I am the type of person who speaks results into reality through the force of certainty. I am the type of person who builds without waiting for applause. I am the type of person who embodies the future in every present step. I am the type of person whose very presence reminds the world that destiny is not delayed, it is declared. Let these words not simply pass your lips. Let them burn into your mind until they reshape the very architecture of your being. Every morning when you rise, before you allow the dust of yesterday's doubts to settle on your soul, declare the victory again. See it, feel it, walk from it, not toward it. Destiny is not a distant mountain you are striving to climb. It is the ground beneath your feet when you dare to move as if you already stand at the summit. There will be days when the evidence of your eyes will seem to mock you, when your surroundings will argue with your declarations, when the voices of smaller men will whisper that you are foolish to act so boldly. Ignore them. They are not seers of destiny. They are protectors of mediocrity. They do not understand that every great creation was first invisible, first unbelievable, first unprovable, until the man who dared to act as if it were true made it undeniable. You must decide now, not later. Will you live by sight or by vision? Will you obey the world as it is, or will you command it to become what it must be? Do not wait for signs. Be the sign. Do not wait for the crown to be placed on your head. Place it there yourself through the posture of certainty, through the speech of finality, through the action of inevitability. Victory does not wait for the man who hesitates. It races to meet the man who walks as if he already holds it. Speak it aloud even now as you listen. I walk from victory, not toward it. I act as if destiny has already delivered. I refuse to let small evidence dictate my large faith. I am the living proof that vision governs reality. I am already crowned and I move accordingly. Let this become your code of movement, your rhythm of breath, your habit of thought. For the man who masters this mental trick is no trickster. He is the architect of miracles. And the world, though slow to recognize it, must eventually kneel to the man who decided long ago that he would walk not by permission, but by the certainty of his purpose. There is a solemn act that must take place if you are to rise above the level of the ordinary and step into the dominion that has been carved out for you by the invisible hand of purpose. It is not an act performed before the crowds. It is not witnessed by applauding friends or noted in the records of men. It is an act done alone, in sacred stillness, where only your spirit and your Creator hear the words. It is the signing of your covenant with risk. You will need a sheet of paper, a pen, and a will made of steel. You will need to stand as a man who no longer petitions for permission, but declares his allegiance to his assignment. At the top of the page, write these words slowly, carefully, feeling the weight of each letter as it flows from your hand. I, and here you write your full name in your own hand, as a man called by purpose and bound by no permission of man, hereby covenant that I will no longer ask permission to pursue the purpose placed within me. Do not rush these words. Do not treat them as mere poetry. You are not writing wishes. You are sealing a vow. Once you have written this, once the ink has dried and the paper bears the stamp of your decision, sign your name beneath it with finality, not as a hope, not as a suggestion, but as a man sealing his own command to himself and to the universe. Then place this covenant where you will see it every morning when you dress for battle. Affix it near your mirror, or on the inside of your wardrobe door, or wherever your eyes must meet it before the day can begin. This is to remind you daily that you are not governed by the voices of caution, nor by the delays of doubt. You are governed by the sacred promise you have made between yourself and your Creator. Each morning, before you place a single garment upon your body, read it aloud. Stand straight, shoulders back. Read it with the tone of a king reciting the laws of his realm. Let your voice be strong, even if your heart trembles. For strength is not the absence of trembling, it is the mastery of it. Speak the covenant aloud until the walls of your room remember the vibration. until your very atmosphere is charged with the energy of commitment. You will find that the more you read it, the more your spirit begins to obey it. At first, you may still hesitate, still falter, still feel the tug of the old chains of fear, but persistence will turn habit into character, and character will turn you into the living embodiment of your own vow. Understand this: the man who will not risk does not yet believe fully in his own assignment. Risk is not recklessness, it is reverence. It is obedience to the invisible summons that every great man has heard in the stillness of his own heart. Carnegie heard it when he dared to invest all he possessed in the future of steel. Ford heard it when he defied the entire horse-driven industry with a dream too large for the minds of the time. They risked not because they were reckless, but because they recognized that obedience to purpose demanded it. So you must now do the same. You must recognize that asking for permission, waiting for others to approve your dream, is not humility. It is disobedience to the destiny placed within you. You must no longer kneel before the altars of public opinion. You must kneel only to the calling placed within you by the infinite intelligence that breathes life into all great endeavors. This covenant, once written and spoken daily, will begin to carve a new road in your mind. It will clear away the rubble of indecision. It will burn down the hedges of hesitation. It will light a fire in your bones that no storm of doubt can extinguish. Say it aloud again and again. I, and here you speak your name boldly, will no longer ask permission to pursue the purpose placed within me. I will move without apology. I will risk without regret. I will act not when it is safe, but when it is right. When you sign your name to this covenant, you are no longer merely a man with a dream. You are a man under oath to destiny, and the world, slow though it may seem, always yields to the man who moves with such solemn and unbreakable commitment. Sign it, read it, live it, and watch how heaven and earth rearrange themselves to obey the man who obeyed his calling. There comes a moment in every man's life where he must choose with brutal honesty the ground upon which he will stand. He can shrink into the shadowed safety of caution, convincing himself that prudence is virtue and hesitation is wisdom, or he can rise, eyes blazing, to the high places of destiny, where risk is the cost of remembrance and daring is the toll paid for immortality. Let it be made plain, the man who plays small dies daily. He does not perish in a single grand collapse. No, his soul withers slowly, like a mighty oak starved of water, his dreams decaying one cautious day at a time until he is a shell, a whisper, a regret. The man who plays bold, however, the man who moves when others murmur, who speaks when others swallow their voice, who dares while others deliberate, he lives not only in his own time, but in the memory of generations. He becomes a story told with reverence, a life studied, a monument that the dust of fear cannot erase. You must see clearly now that the danger is not in moving. It is in mourning the life you never dared to build. You must understand that safety is the liar that steals more dreams than failure ever could. The clock is ticking, and each hesitation is a theft against your own destiny. There will be no second life given for you to correct the cowardice of today. This day, this hour, this very moment is the raw material of your legacy, and you must forge it with fire, not with fear. Do not think that the bold man does not feel the tremors of doubt or the icy fingers of fear. No, he feels them fully, more keenly than those who hide. But he chooses movement. He chooses voice. He chooses action because he knows that boldness is not a denial of fear. It is the dominion over it. Boldness is not recklessness. Boldness is obedience to the assignment that fear dares not touch. The man who risks his reputation, his comfort, even his immediate security for the sake of his calling, he is the man history remembers and heaven smiles upon. Look to the men whose names have survived the grave. Did they tiptoe into greatness? Did they wait for the applause before they spoke? The guarantee before they moved? The security before they built? Never. Carnegie threw himself into the molten fires of industry with no promise but the fire in his own heart. Ford drove his vision into existence against the laughter of the old order. Roosevelt charged up the hills of life not because it was safe, but because it was right. Their names are chiseled into the granite of history not because they played it careful, but because they dared while others delayed. You must write your victory not in plans, but in acts. Plans are safe. Acts are dangerous. Plans comfort the mind. Acts stretch the soul. Plans can be whispered in secret rooms, but acts must be shouted by the body before the world. And the world only responds to acts. It bows only to the man who does, not the one who dreams. From this day forward, you must walk like a man who knows that smallness is starvation of the spirit. Every choice you make must be asked against a single burning question. Does this feed my greatness or my smallness? Every hesitation must be confronted, every delay slaughtered at the altar of decision. You must write your story not in what you hoped for, but in what you dared to act upon. For regret is reserved for the men who waited. Legacy is reserved for the men who moved. And now at the close of this charge, let these affirmations be carved into your spirit with the chisel of conviction. Speak them not once, not timidly, but as a man who signs his name with fire upon the book of destiny. Smallness starved, greatness fed. I am the type of man who burns the bridge to hesitation. I am the type of man whose steps create a path where none was before. I am the type of man whose deeds shout louder than doubts. I am the type of man who dares today so that he will not weep tomorrow. I am the type of man whose story will be told because he moved when others murmured. Remember this final and eternal truth. The bold man lives forever, not because he avoided death, but because he lived so fully that death could not erase him. You must now choose daily to be that man. The clock is ticking. Move or mourn.